The business then from Stephen now here on set. He's starting with a pretty big day, in fact, for Bitcoin.
As of today, El Salvador becomes the first country in the world to accept the cryptocurrency as legal tender. It'll be used alongside the US dollar there. That's despite widespread skepticism among locals and international warnings of the potential risk to consumers. The president says adopting Bitcoin will give many Salvadorans access to banking services and save them money on remittance fees. The government's invested over $21 million in the digital currency in recent days. Erin Ogunke has more.
It's a global first. Salvadorans can now use Bitcoin to pay taxes, buy land, and shop for daily necessities. And any businesses with access to technology in the Central American nation are now legally required to accept the cryptocurrency. The government has purchased 400 Bitcoins and vowed to preload Chivo digital wallets with $30 worth of the currency to any citizen who registers with a national ID number.
Bitcoin is going to help greatly in the development of the economy. And it's very important to point out that the dollar is the legal tender of reference for Bitcoin currency exchange.
President Nayib Bukele's government has created a $150 million fund to back exchanges from the cryptocurrency to US dollars. Supporters say the change will make it cheaper for Salvadorans abroad to send money home. These transfers account for around a quarter of the country's GDP.
For most of the people in this community, they don't have access to bank accounts. They don't have access to payment apps like a lot of us do in the US or in Europe. And so this was them bringing them kind of into the digital world.
Still, Salvadorans remain largely skeptical of the cryptocurrency. Recent polls show up to 2/3 of the population is against using Bitcoin as legal tender. Critics say its volatility could destabilize prices and jeopardize the country's financial system. Over the past few months, Bitcoin's value has topped $60,000 and fallen to near $30,000.
Well, let's take a look at what's happening with the price of Bitcoin today as that news is happening in El Salvador. According to the website CoinDesk, Bitcoin is trading over $52,000 today. That's up around 10% in the past week. Now, as Aaron was saying in that report, Bitcoin is a speculative asset, so the value fluctuates wildly based on investor views. The endorsement by El Salvador then could be something that impacts on its value.
Now we're going to turn to the US for its next story. Unemployment benefits have been cut off for millions of Americans.
This is as certain pandemic assistance programs come to an end. 7.5 million people have seen their jobless benefits cut off as a result. It includes an end to a $300 a week top-up in federal payments, plus aid to gig economy workers and the self-employed. Efforts to extend these benefits further had been criticised by Republicans and small business owners who'd argued that the extra help was fueling a shortage of labour. There are around 10 million job openings in the United States at the moment, but the Labour Department says that there are still almost 6 million fewer jobs than before the pandemic. Let's take a look at what's happening on the stock markets next for you. European shares starting the day slightly in the red. That's after Monday's gains. This despite news that German industrial production picked up in July. That was after 3 months of declines. Chinese shares getting a boost today in Asian trading from the latest trade figures there, showing exports jumping by 25% in August. That's much faster than had been expected. We've got gains too on some of the other Asian markets. You can see the Nikkei in Tokyo there up almost 0.9%.
A blow for Boeing for you now. One of its biggest customers says it will not be ordering more planes.
The Irish airline Ryanair is Boeing's biggest customer outside of the United States. Just last year, the carrier agreed to buy 75 737 MAX jets, a move that was seen as a vote of confidence in the model after it had been grounded following 2 deadly crashes. Ryanair now says, though, it's walking away from talks over a new order because the plane builder won't drop its prices sufficiently. Both Boeing and Airbus have been racing to sign up new customers as air travel starts to pick up. There's always, of course, a chance that this might be a negotiating tactic from the notoriously hard negotiating Michael O'Leary from Ryanair.
They could be back again at that negotiating table. Finally from Stephen, traders have returned to one of London's iconic trading floors after 18 months.
It's the London Metals Exchange. It has one of the few remaining what are called open outcry rings. This is where traders can call out their orders out loud. These are pictures from before the pandemic, but it was a similar scene yesterday when things reopened. That was the first time since the pandemic struck that people have been on that trading floor at the London Metals Exchange. In fact, the closure was the first time it had been closed since the Second World War. Much of the trading in metals had moved online during the pandemic. There was a proposal from the exchange's operator not to reopen the ring, but financial firms said the facility helped dealers to carry out complex trades. They use hand signals like that to signal certain trades within that trading space. Interestingly, the exchange saying they decided not to impose a requirement on traders to wear face masks because they said it would hinder their activity on the floor.
It all looks as though about to punch each other in reality, to be honest.
I think that's a regular
No,
occurrence.
although masks might help protect a little bit, I suppose. Stephen, thank you.